Welcome to It's Your Date with Destiny with Apostle Vivian and Pastor Jemma Duncan of Divine Destiny Worship Center in Diego Martin. For the next 30 minutes, join us as we take you on a journey of maximizing your potential and realizing your goals through Jesus Christ.
Why is it when you need a miracle, it doesn't happen, but when you least expect it, it happens?
You are married, you have challenges in your relationship, but your spouse is unwilling to accede to any counseling. Is divorce an option?
How does a parent handle a promiscuous child?
What are considered the do's and don'ts of a born-again couple who is not yet married?
There are always more questions than answers. So here is Apostle Jemma.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Ask Pastor Jemma. Thank you for taking the time to be with me this morning. In the event that you're a first-time viewer, my name is Jemma Duncan. I'm married to Apostle Vivian Duncan, and I always like to say that God kept us. This year we will be celebrating 43 years of marriage, and it is the hand of God that has kept us through the years, and I'm very grateful for that. We are pastors of Divine Destiny Worship Center, and our headquarters is located in Diego Martin. We are opposite Sardonynx Drive on the Diego Martin Main Road. You can find our branches in Sandy Grande, Shoguanas, Faizabad, Rio Claro, Tobago, and we have one in Antigua. This morning, we're looking at a topic that's very, 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 very important, peer pressure. And the truth is, peer pressure appears everywhere, not just in school or among our children, but today we're dealing with parenting, and so we're dealing specifically with our children. The entire question reads, sometimes children become subjected to peer pressure in the school, and although you may teach them the right values, etc., they still succumb to it. What would you suggest is a way of dealing with it? This affects everybody. We live in a society that pressurizes all of us. People try to force us, even in the workplace, to conform to some kind of an image. They try to tell you what is acceptable behavior, and almost try to force you into how to dress, what to buy, what to do, and make you feel that something is wrong with you if I don't look a particular way or I don't do a certain thing, and so on. So it affects everybody. But when we talk about our children, I would like to say that peer pressure is a much greater force than most parents realize. And what we're talking about is people who are trying to influence our children to do wrong. We hardly use the term peer pressure when people try to influence them to do right. So when you talk about peer pressure, it's usually when they are enticed or influenced to do wrong. And it starts again in the home, because parents must treat peer pressure as part of their philosophy of life. We cannot begin to deal with peer pressure when the child is already in school. We have to start to train our children from home to treat with peer pressure, because we need to anticipate it's a real world that the child is going out into, and many times the home and the church, especially in our case, is a kind of secure environment, supposed to be, and although a lot of negative things happen in the home as well as in the church, but it's supposed to be relatively secure and controlled. And so when that opportunity is to prepare our children for life outside of the home. When you're talking peer pressure, to me, it goes straight back to self-esteem. How your child deals with peer pressure has a lot to do with that child's sense of self. And so from very young, we now must push that child to become somebody who understands I am valuable, I have worth. And who else to teach that child that but your parents? And so from a very young age, your little daughter must know that she's pretty, And I love to hear little girls, you would see them and they say, I'm pretty, am I not? And I said, yes, you are. And I like that. You know, she's precocious. She likes herself. You know, she thinks she's pretty, especially when she's all dressed up like a little girl with these pretty little dresses and all the hair with all the fancy colors and so on. And she's there, you know, and accepting compliments. And some people say to her, do you know how pretty you are? She said, yes, I do. And my mommy told me, or my daddy told me. And I said, I want to applaud those parents because you are training your child to deal positively with peer pressure, because that little girl already knows mommy says she's beautiful, daddy says she's beautiful. She doesn't have to conform to anybody on the outside to dictate to you what beauty is. And so one of the things that areas that especially young girls is appearance. And people want to define you. So from small, people tell that child what kind of hair is good hair. And they hear people say, oh, this one has good hair. And so immediately in that little child's mind, something is wrong with my hair if this girl's hair is good, you know, and the opposite of good is bad. So you have children wishing that they had hair like somebody else. You know, you hear people talking about the nice fair one, you know, and the little black one. In my days, it used to be much more prevalent than now, you know, and sometimes they say the ugly black one, because in that child's mind, these two words go together, ugly and black, and nice and fair, right? And so we tend to be applying pressure to that child to conform, and sometimes you are pressuring a child to change something that cannot be changed. If I have the color of my skin, I mean, well, I know in my day we used to bleach it, or I don't know if it's we, but remember that we used to do a lot of bleaching creams and you put it on your face, and then some people didn't realize that when you wear something that shows your neckline or something, so if you're not really wise where you apply the bleaching cream every single night, then you're seeing this disparity between your face and the rest of your body, which is ridiculous, right? And so what do you do? And let me tell you, one of the things I had to do, especially with my children in terms of self-esteem, we said will be the root of your child, allowing people to dictate to them what they do. Then you have to prepare them for facing the world outside. I had to deal with both male and female. And with Patrice, I started off, having come from that background, I didn't really have a good sense of self in terms of my appearance. I can't recall ever being told that I was beautiful or any such thing. And so I presume I was not. As a matter of fact, I was told a whole lot of negative things. And when people who supposedly should care for you, and they're the ones closest to you, and they tell you certain things, then we believe. You know, if a parent say you're ugly, then come on. No teacher could tell you you're beautiful. Some teachers realize the child has a problem and try to help that child along. No, but my mother said so and so. And so that is very ingrained in the child. So I started off by dealing with Patrice in terms of her appearance. She has black skin. Her father is a black man. I love Vivian. I love his color, his skin tone. I'm very attracted to black skinned men because my mother was a really beautiful black woman. And every time we would walk and she would see somebody who is black, she would say, oh God, Jemma, that's a nice darkie. And she would show you the person or something. So in my head, nice and darkie went together. And so naturally you would be attracted in that kind of a way, right? I'm not saying, you know, it was God who maneuvered our lives together. So I'm not sure that the color is what mattered, right? However, I knew that Patrice would not, you know, she has dark skin tone, and she was like her mother, so I knew that she was not going to be like a slim woman, slender or any such thing. It's not going to happen because from a child, she was, you know, chubby and all of that. So the supposition is that she's going to look like her mother. And what did I do? I bought dolls that looked like her. You would find that you could get dark-skinned dolls that are chubby with curly hair, you know? And I refused to buy Barbie because I knew that if I started to give, it was the era of Barbie when Patrice was small, and if I started to give Patrice Barbie doll, I'm giving her an unrealistic picture of what she would think she should become. Listen to me, under no circumstances could me or my daughter ever look like Barbie. Even if we're dreaming, it's not going to happen. Tall and slender, very slim and long legs. Hair straight down your behind. Unless you buy it, well, nowadays you could get any length hair that you want. You know, that's possible now, you know, but it doesn't work. And so, and I had to talk to her as a little child. I said, this is what you look like as a baby. And it was a beautiful baby. And when you grow up and you have babies, this is what your babies would look like. In other words, it was okay to be like that. It's fine. And you're beautiful. And so I would tell her how beautiful she is, and daddy, you know, we would reinforce that. Then I started to train her because I knew that she was going to be a big person, big-bodied. Then she had to have good posture. And so we were taught long ago, I learned posture by carrying water on my head. If you could balance a petrol tin of water in your head, well, you don't even know what a petrol tin is now. Well, nowadays, I think if you buy a biscuit tin is what you buy, a cricks and a tin. I'm not sure whether we have that again. I know people for hurricane season, you would probably buy that. So you learn posture. If you're a big-bodied woman, you have to have posture, you have to have presence. You have to carry that size with presence. And so I had her with the encyclopedia on her head walking up and down the corridor because I wanted her to know you have to have presence. When you enter a room, you must be noticed. Listen, forget the size. You know, they can't miss you. Because like you own the place here. And up to now people tell her that you behave like you own the atmosphere. Well, absolutely. Any space around me, I own it. Because if I stand up in that space, that is mine. You know, and that's how I carry myself. People tell me that when you go somewhere, they say, you know what, you have presence. Yes, I do. Simply because was important for me to learn to love myself. Nobody can pressure me to do what I don't want. It's not happening, right? And so in many cases, Donnell, on the other hand, was short. Vivian is short comparatively. And people would always tell me about Vivian and his height. I find Vivian is perfect. Remember, a co-worker says, you know, you shouldn't be wearing these high heel shoes because your husband's short. I say, is he short? I didn't even notice. You know, I didn't notice. I don't see Vivian as short. He's just perfect for me. Because if you make me happy, I don't really care. And he makes me happy. So I'm good, you know. And Donald came to me and people used to call him a small man and short man and all this kind of thing. One day he came and he was very concerned. I was a bit disturbed and he said, Mommy, am I short? I said, well, yes. If he will, am I going to be short when I grow up? I said, well, there's a possibility you'll be like your daddy. And I told him how much I love Vivian. I find his father is handsome and all of that. I said, you're going to be a handsome young man. You know, daddy's height, that's a possibility. And we talked about it and so on. And he got over it. Now he's a really handsome fella. And he has a beautiful wife who seemed not to be bothered about his height. You know what I mean? The average person will say, wow, Duncan. You know what I mean? You did very well there. You know, with your choice. Not only is she gifted and educated and smart and talented, she is gorgeous. And our both sons, well, Dion is big like his mother. He got this size from my family, and he has a gorgeous wife. So I'm saying to you, you start by young. Because when a child has a sense of self and appearance important, both for male and female, but much more for women, then the chances are they're not going to be pressured to do anything they don't want to do simply because they want to fit in a particular group. They want people to like them. No, they get in love from home. They feel in a sense of self and welfare and well-being from home. And so they're not going to school looking for that. The next area of peer pressure I want to deal with today is dumbing down, where very brilliant children, because they want to fit in certain groups, try to act as if they're not bright. And so you don't want to get high marks, you stop doing your assignments, or you do it sloppily because your friends make fun of you and they call you a nerd. And I told my children, nerd is a very good word. When they came home, they were in secondary school and people talk about nerd, I say, watch me, nerd, good word. And I say, watch me, pick out all the nerds in Hillview and hang out with them. You know, check them out to see what they do. When you see a little fella everybody laughing at and he's a nerd, hang out with him. Ask him, pick his brain. What do you do? Especially if he come in first and test, he get 90-something. That's a good person to hang out with. And I remember one young fella says to Donnell, he took notes twice. He took notes when the teacher spoke. And then he had additional notebooks at home. And when he went home, he would take it over neatly in these notebooks. And as he would transcribe the information from one book to another, it just anchored and concretized itself in his brain. I say, follow him. And I told my children, the nerds in your school will be the movers and shakers in Trinidad and Tobago in the future. I say all the jocks who laughing at them and so on and not studying, they will work for them. They'll be driving the maxi and thing. You know, because these guys, when they're done, I'm a big doctor, but I had 20 maxis on the road. And these same fellas who laughing at you now in school will be, they're driving the maxis and cleaning your home and seeing about your yard and all that kind of thing. And so it was important for me to prepare my children because I prepared them for the top. Oh yeah, you're going to be an influencer. You're going to be a mover and a shaker from small. So when they go to school, you can't tell me not to study. You can't laugh at me because I get an 100. Being smart is worth celebrating. So when they achieved, when you came home with a test report, it was a celebration. We rewarded them. We went out and we celebrated every single achievement. So my children realized that achieving was, laudable. It's good. Don't let nobody who's foolish not to do your work and want to make me look stupid because I'm smart. No. So nerd was a real good word in our house, right? We talked about dress code, how you dress, and I would make them look on TV. I say, look at all the important people in Trinidad and Tobago. Look at international news. How do they dress? You never see a president with the pants on the bottom. You never see a prime minister. You never see a parliamentarian or anybody who's a businessman, a business owner. These are the people who are the movers and the shakers. How do they dress? I say, because that's where you're heading. You belong there. We may start poor, but education is the greatest equalizer, and you're heading there. So now you have to look to see how do people dress, who are the decision makers in the world, and that's what you're looking at. So when your children go there and people know, want to show them a different kind of a way, you have already established how they should be. So to avoid peer pressure, it starts in the home. And for those of you who, it's a little late for you, well, God will have to help you to now reinsert some of these philosophies and values in your house. Talk to your children. Conversations are very important. Now, let me tell you, I once viewed an FBI documentary. And the person who the reporter was interviewing was talking about how to deal with counterfeit money. And he talked about from different things, and then finally the guy says, so how do you train your officers to know when the money is genuine? And he says, you know what, we never use counterfeit. Boy, that man had me sitting up. He said we didn't use it before the training, during the training, or after. In other words, these guys are being trained to recognize counterfeit money, but they never see, touch, or use counterfeit in the training. And I say, wow. That means if I want my children to stand up out there and to be able to differentiate genuine from counterfeit in terms of peer pressure, what somebody wants me to do, then I must teach them truth. So I decide what is truth. The Bible says, God speaking, it says, my word is truth. Who is truth? Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So what did I set about to do? Well, not I, but Vivian and I, it's two of us together, was to paint a picture of the word of God as truth and posture Jesus Christ as truth, not only by what we say, but by how we demonstrate in our lives. And we believe that Jesus is truth, so we want to live his word. It's not that we didn't make mistakes, but we tried very hard to live the word of God and project Jesus Christ before our children. And I give God praise that it worked. So anytime they step out there and they see counterfeit, something in their knower says to them, this is not, something is wrong with this, because my parents taught me truth and it doesn't line up with the truth that I know. Let me get down as I end. What are some of the things that people do in terms of self-esteem and peer pressure? Dares, my children would come home and their friends would dare them. For example, they dare them to do things that will endanger them. Cars will be flitting across the road and your friend saying, run across the road. And you say no, because my parents were very clear, listen to me, I pong on them how to cross the street. And you don't cross the street when a car coming and you can't anticipate the speed of that vehicle. And you call them chicken. I said to them, tell them I love chicken. Fried, curried, baked, any kind of chicken. Squawk, squawk, squat, I like chicken. Because some little boy, because you call him a chicken and he doesn't have a good sense of self, is going to run across the road and get knocked down. Then I have had to deal as a teacher with children who were dared to go to the shop, to some place and pilfer some little useless item just as on a day. You didn't have a good sense of self. You want to remain friends with these children. You take it. You know what happened? The guard saw you. Now, the guard not looking at you, but remember there's a monitor. And the child doesn't know that they are monitored. So I had to tell my children, and this is especially now, you have cameras everywhere. Every store you go, every place. It's not just the guard you've seen. There's somebody in a room in the back looking at a monitor. And here you are taking up a little item. You can't do anything with the item. So you know that the child is not a thief. The child didn't pick up something they needed. The child picked up something that was useless because of a day, simply because you want to fit in. If your child has a good sense of self, they will just ignore them and say, you take it. And I told my children, every time somebody dare you, say, why don't you do it? You tell me, do something, I'm in class and miss is not looking and you tell, no, you do it. Because I don't have to fit in anyway. I didn't come to school for friends. You know, you don't have to like me. It doesn't matter if you don't like me. It doesn't matter if I don't belong to your little group. I belong to the Vivian Duncan family. And 5 of us was enough to do whatever we wanted to do. We didn't have to have no clique. We didn't have to have no friends. You know, we didn't have to have anybody else. We were a nice little family together and we did everything together. We loved each other. So it's absolutely important that you may say, well, you didn't deal with the whole problem of peer pressure. But I'm saying to you, if you're talking about peer pressure, the base problem that will cause a child to give in the peer pressure is self-esteem. And so we have to deal with it. If the child is already grown, then you're going to have to do different kinds of a strategy, and conversations are important. Let me tell you, you have to talk to your children about every single thing. Talk. Tell them about your personal struggles, because many times we would have had struggles in terms of your own self, how you know, in terms of your looks, what children kind of push you to do, and when you did it, what the results were. You know, sometimes as parents, we try to look like, perfect people before our children. We hide some of the experiences we had, and not understanding that those experiences were like teaching tools for our children. And then they saw us in a very human light, and then is when they understand why mommy and daddy are so hard on us in these particular areas, simply because they went through something like that.
For I know who I am. Hey. 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 We are a chosen, come on. We are a chosen generation. We've been called for to show His excellence. Yeah. All I require for life, God has given me, and I know who I am. We are a chosen generation. We've been called for to show His excellence. All I require for life, God has given me. I know who I know who God says I am, what He says I am, where He says I'm at. I know who I am, I know who
Have you received a promise from God and it seems like it's never going to happen? Do you feel all alone, like nothing's working right, and the people you thought would help you are working against you? Well, you're not alone. Thousands of years ago, a man named David was anointed by God to be king of Israel. But instead of a smooth road to the throne, he went through some unexpected challenges. Coming from a dysfunctional family, he persevered against giants, jealousy, self-doubt, and personal failures to become the greatest king in the history of Israel and set the standard for worship because he kept his heart focused on God. I'm Dr. Angel Duncan, and I want to invite you to join me on a journey through the life of David in my new book, 1 Month with the King, 31 Lessons from the Life of King David. For each lesson, there are corresponding activities in the companion interactive study journal. This is designed for you to apply what you learn. This book was written to encourage the hearts of people who have received promises from God that seem long in coming. Most importantly, emphasis is placed on seeing the process through God's eyes and fulfilling the promise in God's heart. In the end, may God say about you what he said about David in Acts chapter 13, verse 22. I have found David, the son of Jesse, a man after mine own heart, which shall fulfill all my will. Pick up your copy today at Amazon.com or any major online bookseller.
Again, today, I hope I helped you in some way that as a parent, you may pick out some little thing from this that you can help. And grandparents, you may say, well, I'm not a parent, I'm a grandparent. Well, you have influence over your grandchildren or any child that you could influence in any way to help that child to have a better sense of themselves so that they don't feel that they have to become like somebody, especially when it's doing wrong. I don't want you to ever forget what Jesus said. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except by me. God bless you real good.